Back to Bloom. The time is ripe to clean out your fridge. That's right, everyone. Today is National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day, and joining us now is Tanya Harris, an award-winning environmental toxin expert and the author of The Slightly Greener Method. Detoxifying your home is easier, faster, and less expensive than you think. Welcome to Bloom, Tanya.
Thanks so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. So I do need to make a little bit more room in my refrigerator, but a lot of folks are like, oh, I don't want to do this. But it's so important to get rid of what's old in your fridge.
It really is. There's also things like bacteria and things that can form if you keep it in there too long. And with the holidays coming up, this day was created actually back in 1999 by the Whirlpool appliance team to encourage people to clean out their fridges ahead of the holidays. But it doesn't have to be as hard as we think. And once we do it, it feels so good. Because I'm about to open my refrigerator so you can see what I did.
Yes, yes.
It's definitely not that bad of a daunting task. I like to do a shelf at a time. And what I like to do is make sure I have a lot of empty counter space and then kind of sort everything into items I use every day, items I use less frequently, and then again, of course, the expired items and leftovers. And so I'll open my fridge real quick.
Okay.
I hope you see this.
Ah.
Of course, it's not usually this clean because I have, 3 kids. So it stays like this for a few days. But the good thing is it's still going to stay. You're still going to have that food and make more room for healthier food after a while. And so what I like to do is store things. A lot of us don't store things correctly, and I'm guilty of it too sometimes. But what we really want to do is make sure that when we have meat, to make sure it doesn't contaminate other things in the refrigerator, is to make sure we have it on a plate or in a tray to catch any of the drippings. And then another thing is milk and eggs, although a lot of us have the egg thing on the side, in the side door. Really, the coolest part of the refrigerator is actually inside the compartment. So things like milk, eggs, and dairy, we want to store inside the fridge and keep the doors for condiments and things like butter also.
Okay.
Another thing we want to do is make sure we're not packing it too full so that it's, we let the air circulate, otherwise the refrigerator doesn't work correctly.
Okay.
And then when we empty out the shelves, vacuum them out or wipe them clean. And then also remove the drawers if you can, and either dump them or wipe them out, and make sure that we're vacuuming or wiping underneath those as well.
All right, so in order to, once you go through all this, and I'm with you, it's definitely time. I've been thinking about it and thinking about it. I mean, I try not to have too much food waste and, eat what we prepare every night. But what are some of the biggest mistakes that we're making as far as, letting this become an issue in the first place?
Exactly. Well, what I like to do is with my clients, I like to recommend always setting a timer once a week. And I started doing this for myself as well. And it really has cut down on the waste. Like this, cleaning the refrigerator to this didn't take so long this time, because what I do is I set a timer reminder on my phone every week, the night before garbage night, so that way I can go in and clear everything out. And I'm doing it once a week rather than once or twice a year when it's the upcoming holidays. Yeah. So I think that's one thing. And then remembering food safety also, like leftovers really aren't good for more than a few days. And things like meat and things like that can actually be used a few days after the expiration date. And USDA.gov has a great resource to see how and when to use those foods, so we're not necessarily wasting everything. And the more we clean it out too, the less waste we have overall, because we keep up on it rather than letting this happen.
Now, I'm like you. The last thing I want is the cure for the common cold growing in my refrigerator, so I try to move it out right before trash night at least once a week. But when do we need to get down and dirty and start scrubbing things and vacuuming things out?
I actually like to do that about once a month. And when you keep up on it like that, it really doesn't take long at all. It literally takes me just a few minutes at a time. And again, I like to do one shelf at a time. That way, if I have to stop in the middle or do something else, because we all have busy lives, that makes it a lot more doable too, if you just do it one at a time. But the big clean outs, I recommend 2 or 3 times a year. I like to go with the seasons, and just remember every time the season changes to go in and really do a deep clean on my fridge and other appliances.
Well, I have to say, your refrigerator has been very inspiring. I'm going to go home after the show and tackle mine. I certainly appreciate you joining us on Bloom today.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for more information, you can visit slightlygreener.com.